Hello, Deborah. How are you this evening? Let me know you can hear me just fine. Hey, Rick, how are you? Duke, welcome. Roberta, welcome. So just a heads up, if somebody could just say they can hear me just fine, that'd be great. I see my voice thing going up and down, so I'm pretty sure you can. So, hello, Teresa, welcome. Hi, Teresa. How are you? It's been a while since I've seen you. Hey, Rick, my bud.
Hi Liliana, how are you?
I'm good, honey. How are you feeling on the detox?
I'm feeling great. I'm just trying to figure out how to work Zoom on my phone. I've never done this before, but I
Oh,
think I got it.
okay. Are you on your phone? Yeah, it's a little bit different, but yeah, I can see you perfectly. So hopefully you can see me. Am I in a little square?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
good. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so you're doing good. You feel good. What day are you on right now?
Let's see. Today must be day 7.
Okay, all right. All righty, fantastic. Well, tonight we're going to talk about emotional detoxification because we can't have one without the other. And so, you know, the biology in regards of how our chemistry works and the physiology, and they're all intertwined. The psychology and the biology, we cannot separate them. So when we're really thinking about detoxification, we want to look at, body and mind because they're interconnected. And we were trying to treat the whole person. So working with the body is terrific, and that's is absolutely necessary. But if we have a belief system that anchors us in a pattern of sabotage or in an inability to actually create new habits, like Joe Dispenza says, is the neurons that fire together begin to wire together. And so if we are 95% in our programming, and I kind of think about it, I wake up in the morning and I brush my teeth and I drink my water, I take your thyroid, you do this, and it's pretty pattern oriented. So there's not really too many new things that we add, on a day-to-day basis. So how can we possibly experience anything new if our pattern, we're going down the same pattern, doing the same things every day? So when we do a T-Tox program like we're doing now, one of the things that I've noticed within myself is the level of time in regards to, since I'm not cooking and cleaning in the evening when I get home, what am I doing with this time? And I'm being more creative and more expansive in regards of, what is it that I would like to take in that maybe when I'm, busy cooking and cleaning and I'm tired after that, that I don't have the motivation to do that. So I've been finding more time listening to motivating podcasts, taking my detox bath, taking saunas, doing my foam rolling and a little bit of stretching in the evening. And it really feels good because it's a lot of self-care. And what you're also going to find that has happened to me every single time is that after you get off your detox, because of the disciplinary aspect and also the experience that you are having, you don't want to go back to doing things that you normally did. Like, for example, coffee is something that we're not drinking. And so the mindset of every time that I've gone on it, it's like, one, I don't really need the coffee for energy. It's not one of those things that I needed to pick me up in the morning. 99% of the time, I'm using it as a intermittent fasting vehicle because caffeine makes you not hungry. And so then I say, okay, well, if I really don't need it for the energy, but I'm just looking to have a little bit of calories because I'm adding a little cream to it, then what else could I use that may be more effective? Since coffee, I would say, has a lot of pesticide on it. It's hard for us to find really good quality coffee, or even it has mold in it. So if we've done a detox, I say I don't really want pesticides. I don't really want more mold. So then I kind of always kind of have gone to the mindset of, okay, well, I am going to add some caffeine. Let me add some, matcha green tea that has got the antioxidants that's still going to give me a little bit of the caffeine hit, but at the same time, it's got theanine, which relaxes the frontal lobe of the brain. So we're always going to look to how can we upgrade. So I find that whenever I do a detox program, that I have a lot more not just discipline, but desire not to go back to doing things that necessarily weren't to my highest interest in regards of my state of well-being, or even the frequency of energy of the things that I put in my body. So you're going to find that as well. Like, for example, cheese, we're taking cheese out of the diet. So for me, I already know that when I eat dairy products, when I have a reaction to it, if I've eaten it more than 1 or 2 days in a row, I'll get nasal congestion. And so why am I not listening to my body when it gives me a reaction that isn't a positive reaction? Why would I want to continue to do it? Oh, because it's pleasurable, it's delicious. You go to a party, they've got cheese and they've got crackers and things of that nature. It's easy to munch on. But at the same time, if we start really paying attention to eating what likes us, because now we've experiencing the lack of symptomology of less mucus, less bloaty, less gassy. Our bowel function is going to be much better. And so we would say to ourselves, okay, we've got all the positive benefits. Let's pay attention to what they are. Like, I know for me, coffee is very much of a stimulant to my bladder. And again, it's not that I need it for energy, but when I do take this coffee, I would say in an hour, every hour on the hour, or twice in 1 hour, I've got to get up to go to the bathroom. All right. And so again, it's not, and what I find is like, wow, I'm able to drink my drink in the morning. I'm able to drink my tea in the morning, and I don't have that urgency because I don't have that caffeine stimulating my bladder. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so, if you look at caffeine or coffee as a treat, oh, so it's a treat for your mind, a treat for the emotional mindset of it, but it's not a treat at all for your bladder. And if you are honoring and having reverence for this vehicle that God gave you, why would you want to create a negative response, when it's just a pleasurable thing that maybe you could use something else? So you're going to find that that's going to happen to you too. You're going to be going to reach for something and go, oh, maybe I really don't need that cheese, or maybe I really don't need to have that bread, or maybe I really don't need to have this. And this is what I love about detox. It's just kind of a whole reset in regards of to getting you back onto a platform of being more disciplined in regards of the choices that you make. So what I'd like to do is just start out at 7:02. So I'd like to just invite you guys. You guys have been on this for a week. Those of you who did get your kit from, and I know that they've been on back order, and it's been absolutely insane. There's another way for those people who want to get the kit and to do it separate. Like, for example, they have these as separate units, and so they're not necessarily in the deep. They don't come in a kit. They come in like a protein powder, like this, like a normal. So it's not as convenient with the packets and stuff, right? But you can get this, and then you can get the pills that are separate that would normally be in your packet, and you would do 3 of these and 1 of these, and actually it actually comes out a little less expensive too. Now, when I've gotten this kit, it comes with this one, and it also comes with another little pea protein. But the pea protein is just a basic pea protein, so I don't really need to buy that. If I already have one, like I have one from Sprouts, and I looked at the ingredients compared to the other one that was just pea protein, and they're very similar. This is the one that has all the detox elements for phase 1 and 2. So for those of you who, didn't get to order the kit because they were on back order, this is just another way to go about doing it. It's just doing it separate. It's just not as, grab and go. You have to, open the jar, you got to take it out and things like that. But again, if you haven't been able to get your kit, that would be a good idea. So what I'd like to do is just take a moment and just open it up for Any questions that you might have before I go into the PowerPoint? Because now we're going from shifting from the mechanism of the biology of the body and the mechanisms of detoxification into mental detoxification. So before I go into that, I just want to ask anybody if they have a question for me in regards of what they're feeling, are they having any issues, and if you are having some successes, I would like to hear that too. So anybody else, Maria? Can you just share a little bit in regards if you have any questions, how you're feeling, how your level of hunger is, in regards of being able to have the 2 shakes, 1 meal? How are you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
I've done the 21-day one, the other
Yeah, the
detox
standard process one.
standard process. So this one's a little bit different in that I can actually eat a meal
Mm-hmm.
going on. So I've been doing the shake in the morning, the shake in the evening, and then the lunch.
Okay.
I have a meal. But the first couple days and stuff, 3 days, what we are now? We're on 7th day.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. I felt lots of energy. I wasn't hungry or anything. And then all of a sudden, where are we? We're Wednesday, like Monday, I felt really hungry for some reason.
In the morning, in the afternoon,
No, in the
dinner time?
afternoon, like right before, like when I want to eat.
Yeah, it's kind of the anticipation. No, absolutely,
So
right? It's my
is that
celebratory meal.
normal?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like my celebratory meal. My dopamine is already starting to go.
Yeah.
So what you might want to do, Maria, is just take a little handful of nuts.
Oh, I do. I eat my nuts and so
Okay.
forth. And then I don't know if it's cheating, but I know it says in the booklet that you can have a fruit. And I know I've been trying to do half an apple. Sometimes I do a full apple with almond butter
Okay.
as my snack versus the handful of nuts. But I may cheat a little bit more. I'm calling it cheating because I feel like I may be overeating on my snacks. I will have another handful of nuts if I feel a little hungry. Is that bad?
No, that's not bad at all. So
Okay.
remember, our intention is detoxification. And then, of course, if we have some, extra weight loss and, because we're not having the fruits or that in between, then that's perfectly fine. But so for me, what I'm doing is I put like a half of an orange in the blender, and then I've made some ginger juice. So I just take a chunk of ginger, I put it in the blender with water, I strained it because now a lot of people are getting influenza. Right. And so
Right.
what I'm doing is I'm just making an immune drink. So I'll just have a half of an orange. I put this, so it's this size here. And then I put a half of a lemon and ginger juice in there, and then 10 drops of grapeseed extract in there, and then a little bit of stevia. So then I'll have that. And so then again, I'm staying really hydrated. So every day when I go to work, I take a big thing of either that or I take a tea. So I'm drinking the whole time. And so
Yeah.
that helps a little bit too just remember your body's in elimination. So you're also going to be, excreting and liquefying things. So the more hydrated you are, the better it will be in regards of, not just the process of cleansing, but also the process of satiation, because you are going to be, using a lot of water to move things out.
Yeah. No, and then that drink of yours, that's not the actual shake. That's something extra you do.
Yeah, that's something extra I do. So instead of
Oh,
your
okay.
half an
Because I was
apple.
looking at your shake on
Okay,
your
no, my shake here,
box
this is
thing.
different. This is different. So
Oh,
this is my shake for tonight, and I have blueberries in here. Okay, so for me, when I put berries in here, I use water so the berry becomes the juice. I don't really need coconut milk or almond milk, so I kind of
okay.
leave out that, and I
But
just add the protein, and I make it with that. So, and then of course I make
look
it
at
so.
how much you have.
Yeah,
I have
because
to use
I put
8 ounces.
I put a lot of water in it so that
Got it. Okay.
oh yeah, no, I got to have it full. I don't have it this big. I make it all
Oh,
the way to the top,
okay, so
right?
we can add a little bit more
Oh yeah,
then.
like some people are
Okay.
adding spinach in there,
Oh
and
yeah,
a
I see that.
tablespoon of almond butter or a little bit of coconut oil in there. Me, I've been adding some spirulina to it. So
Okay.
again, I make it so it's all the way to the top.
Okay, because I was wondering, I'm like, it says 6 to 8 ounces of, whatever coconut milk or whatever you're using. And I'm like, why is mine only this much? And Liliana is like the whole full thing. Am
Yeah,
I
yeah, no, yeah,
doing something?
I add the liquid to it for
Okay,
sure.
got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
no
then I'll
worries.
be a little bit more full then, I think.
Yes, exactly. But
Okay.
again, to have a little handful of nuts here and there, that's perfectly okay. I would not, go, I'm cheating or anything like that. And so how's your GI system?
Fine. I did text you because at first I was having a bit of constipation. So
Okay.
TMI, but we're all here together.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's better now after
Okay.
7 days. I'm definitely better, but I have been taking magnesium.
Okay, good. Yeah. And
Because
so again, everybody's going to have different responses. Like for me, I'm like, wow, my bowel function is really good. It's like, 2 times a day for sure, no problem. And
oh
even in the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
afternoon, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, this is good, right? And so that's one of the things that I am noticing is that, my GI system is much better. And then of course, not eating late at night is always going to be a plus.
Yeah.
So my sleep is better. So I want you to kind of be writing things down so that you have an awareness of what my body's experiencing so that I can take notice, so that when I go on to continue on with my detox lifestyle, I pay attention. Like I'm like, I like having a shake at night. This is super simple. And
Yeah.
there'll be times where I'll eat dinner, but I'm going to try to kind of keep that one shake in the evening, for as long as until I get sick of it, to be quite honest with you. And just, because I'm getting a good response from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. Okay, yeah, you're welcome. So anybody else want to share a little bit or ask me questions about, if they're having any kind of issues? You guys are all good? Okay. All right. Well, let us get started. So I love the topic that we're going to be talking about because again, so many of us think that our mind, is the predominant, I would say, president in regards of how we experience life. But again, if you think about it, the stories in your head are based upon your experience that you've had. So two people could be looking at the same thing and have a complete different experience when they recount it again. So I always say to myself, what doesn't ever lie to you is how you feel. And so tonight we're going to go into that in more depth because I think that you can't have you can't have a sense of wholeness until you really look at the programs that you have that allow you to have the motivation and the desire to continue on in this reverence for self and always kind of trying to recognize that we're just an energetic frequency. And in order for us to stay out of a disease process, we need to kind of upgrade that frequency so the electrical current is much higher than those vibratory signatures that are called dis-ease. And when you start to realize that our thoughts create a chemistry, which creates the condition, and the emotions, if they are not what I call recycled and looked at for their value, then they become they stay in the tissue and later become the issue in regards of the things that we are diagnosed and experience. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my PowerPoint. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, and I want to do full screen here. This is what I did last time. I couldn't get my full screen here, but let me go to, why do I always have a hard time getting to the full screen here? Maybe. Remember this happened to me last time. I couldn't get to my full screen. I got all this up here, but I'm looking to get down here where it gives me an idea on how to make this fully. Okay, let's go here. That's that. Where was it last time? Okay, let's go here. There we are. Okay, it always has to give me a little bit of problem, but that's okay. We just breathe through it. Okay, my intention tonight is creating a body and mind connection. Empowering your health journey through detoxification, but looking you at as a whole person. Now, just to review a little bit from last week, we talked a lot about the methylation cycle and how it regulates gene expression, neurotransmission synthesis, hormonal metabolism, and detoxification. So it's absolutely essential that we look at this regulatory system in regards of how we function as the number one in regards of, whether we are in a state of good health or we are in a state of ill health. Now, the interferences with the methylation process is toxins, and mainly those that are of heavy metals like lead and mercury. And we also talked about the MTHRF gene, and it provides the instructions for your body to make the protein, which helps your body process folate. Now, if you might remember from the diagram, the folate was an absolutely necessary element in regards of the conversion of liquefying the toxins so that they can go into the methylation cycle so that we can actually excrete them out of our bowel function, and also out of in urination as well. So we want to be able to make sure that we can complete the cycle. And we talked about that when that cycle isn't completed and we cannot utilize the methylation protein to deliver the message of breaking down folate, then what happens is it creates an excessive homocysteine in the blood, which is a marker for heart disease. We also talked about how would I know if I have methylation issues? And so again, there is a very simple test that's not expensive, and that would be just to check your homocysteine. 99% of the time, this is not a test that's done by standard practice unless you are in for a issue with your heart. So again, in our clinic, because we always look outside this box, this is something that we can ascertain in what we would call the Nutra Eval test. It tells you how well you methylate or not. And 99%, if you're not in good methylation, then we also see that you oftentimes have an MTHRF gene, and then you'll have an elevated homocysteine. So again, that is a very inexpensive test. We also talked about the foods that support the methylation cycle and the folic-rich foods, your greens, your eggs, your salmon, and things that were, vital with sulfur and also folic acid. If you haven't watched the first video, because some of you couldn't, we did have a replay of it. So I would really suggest you go back, because that's more of the biology. And today we're going to be talking more about the psychology aspect. We also talked about, what pathways may even block, if you don't have a methylation issue and you don't have an MTHRF gene issue, what could block your pathways? Well, we ascertained that a standard American diet, which can be, what I call the SAD diet, it's a poor diet, that we can have a lot of processed foods, sugar, excessive salt, and then of course, the exposure to the glyphosates. I just put a little bit of those pictures there because it's important for us to recognize when we look at a label, they make it look real pretty. They got this, nice little circle with a little green leaf in it, but, that's GMO. They've got this little, thing that looks like, again, all this cute things. But again, what is glyphosate? It's literally Roundup, and all the grains are sprayed with glyphosate because of the fact that they're trying to decrease the mold aspect. And then, of course, you have a pill, which is the new kid on the block. And actually, it's made with grapeseed extract, but manufactured in a way where it actually is very toxic to the body. And they're actually trying to pass a bill that they don't have to put a label on there. And it's just a wax coating that, and this is a Bill Gates thing, to preserve this food for a longer period of time. But if God wanted us to preserve a food for a longer period of time, then he would have had it, in its natural process. So again, the nutrients are not going to be as available, and they're going to be cut, not in a seasonal. So they're not going to have the nutrients, and they're going to have, more anti-nutrients, which we call lectins in there. So again, we want to be able to, be aware of, the food colors, the dyes, and all of these chemicals that, if we're not looking carefully at the symbols, we won't know. And again, they're even in health food stores. If you go online, you can look at the stores that are refusing to carry products that have the appeal on it, which is the wax coating. And so you might have a look at that, so that at least you can kind of say, well, I'm going to, take my commerce to these stores, because at least they're supportive of something that could be more beneficial to my health. So the body is not separate from the mind. While detox diets and cleanses are excellent for recalibrating your body and getting back on track physically, we should also consider doing the same for your mind. A mental cleanse can be a great way to find more fulfillment in your personal and spiritual relationships and to help you feel more present and whole at staying on track with a healthy lifestyle. You might be asking yourself, how can a mental cleanse make you feel whole? Well, in today's society, you faced many distractions and stressors. We have constant news and social media feeds that are bombarding us. The other day, I was just happened to be looking at my, Instagram, and and of course, things are all sensational. It popped on this picture of this little baby being born, and the caption was, "What if they would have stopped? What if they would have given up on this child?" Right? And here's a child born, and it was like it looked like a stillborn, and so of course it's going to grab your attention. Of course you're going to watch the whole video. But what did it leave me feeling with? It left me with the even though the outcome was good, the trauma that I was experiencing of witnessing this child resuscitating, really, it left me feeling yucky. And I thought, this is so polluting, right? And then, interestingly enough, another time that I went on there, I saw another thing that really took me, by I couldn't not watch it because it was so, like, I can't believe that they're actually, putting this, woman who's in jail on this strap with her legs this way, and I was just like shocked. And I thought to myself, look at this in regards of polluting your mind. And even when you watch a movie and it leaves you kind of like mad at the character, or, this or that, and having an upset, that's just to me very, very toxic, and it leaves an impression on your mind. So again, we want to be careful in regards of what we're allowing ourselves to be exposed. Now, a mental cleanse can help us focus on our body and mind and spirit to make deeper connections with our loved ones, and also your sense of who you are as a spiritual person, on your soul's journey. So, a mental cleanse is an exercise in clearing your mind to help you find better focus and balance in your life. It's about taking a break from day to day stressors, anxiety, and distractions. Mental cleansing can include activities like deep breathing, stretching exercise, and taking a break from electronic devices. So, I mean, just those few times and then my daughter said, "Well, Mom, if you click on them, the algorithm thinks you like those, and more of those feeds are going to come on there." So they're feeding to the neurotic sense of who we are and the element of sensationalism. But at the end, if you're seeing anything that leaves you feeling, not good or neutral or happy, then why are we indulging in these kind of things where it actually leaves a negative impression on us? So, our universal dilemma of human existence: to see one's predicament clearly is a first step towards going beyond it. If I cannot be a mirror to myself, how can I possibly know how to rehabilitate myself? The body is very intelligent, but it cannot tell the difference between an actual situation and a thought. So remember, it's just a computer up here. The neurons that fire together, like Joe Dispenza says, wire together, and then that becomes a thought pattern that is just what we would consider a habit. So if I'm constantly in the future of what ifs, then I'm more likely to activate my sympathetic nervous system to be in a flight and fright mindset, which at the end of the day is going to affect your immune system in a negative way, which will affect your DNA, will affect your detoxification capacity. And then again, we store these emotions in our body. Your thoughts are the language of your mind. Thoughts can be very deceptive and should be questioned. So if you're feeling an emotional discomfort or tension in your body, you want to take a moment Now, remember, your mind is like a Morse code. It's constantly sending signals, and the only time we really pay attention to it is when we feel a discomfort. I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling okay. So think about that. If I've got my mind doesn't ask me permission to speak, and it's a Morse code, it's constantly dictating in regards on a cellular level its experience of the outside world and what the chemistry should be created within the body. So if I have a sensation of discomfort, the first thing you do is you just imagine if your child came up to you and was in a uncomfortable situation, you would have compassionate curiosity. You would stop whatever you're doing and you would turn and look at your child and you would want to investigate what the child needed. So I want you to do the same thing with yourself. If I have an emotion that causes me discomfort, the first thing I want to do is I want to name it. Once I name it, I look at, does it have any value for me? Is it trying to keep me safe? Or is this a story of the future, but my body is literally creating a chemistry in this very moment? And 9 times out of 10, these stories that we have can be, debunked by asking ourselves, how do I know what I'm thinking is valid? Is it happening at this moment? No, it's not. But it could. Well, it's not. Now, how do I know that's exactly the way it's going to occur in the future? I don't, but it could. That's a no. And if I was reading this storybook to my child, how would it feel? It would feel scared. So if I've got a negative, and a negative, 3 strikes, it should be gone. In regards of, even in the court of law, 3 strikes, you're out. So I look at those thoughts as a bully in my playground, which happens to be my mind. And because my sympathetic nervous system, which I look at as my child, is not comfortable, what am I going to do about it? So if a story that has no validity, I'm going to say to myself, this story has no place in my home. But what nature hates a void. So if I take that story out, what am I going to implement in its place? I might say something like this: no matter what, life always works out for me. God is good. God is just. So cancer has no place in my home. So if I'm in fear of something, I'm going to be able to have an affirmative statement that could push the other one out, and then I can go back into homeostasis. So if you kind of create a 2-step process, no, my mind and body are integrated. They can never be separated. But what we can do is we get them to dance. We can get them to be like 2 dolphins swimming in sync with each other. We want to recognize that the thoughts that we're thinking might be unproductive. And we want to say to ourselves, again, we go through those things. Is it happening now? No, it's not. How do I know it's true? I don't. How does my child feel? Then we want to release it to our highest self, to our spiritual nature. Okay. And so, again, oftentimes when we have a problem that we don't have a solution to, we have 2 choices. If we can't get the solution answered by, asking other people to help us in our thought process, and then we give it to God. So we say to ourselves, at this very moment, I have no solution to the story. So rather than letting it churn over and over in my head and create a negative chemistry, let me trust that if I give it to my higher self, source, God, energy, whatever you want, that I can be patient enough for the time that through my intuition, I can receive a direction or a solution or an understanding on which way to go. So again, our goal is to recognize mind and body cannot be separated, recognize when something is unproductive or negative, and then ask ourselves, what are we going to do about it? And then release it to our higher self, which when we spiritualize it, we say, okay, thought is a bully in our child's playground. If I'm a good parent, I'm not going to let that bully play with my child. Your purest intuitions are always right. Now, when have you ever had an intuition and went with it and it was absolutely right that you said, oh, I shouldn't have listened to my intuition? You never say that. You only say, I wish I would have listened to my intuition when I did not listen to my intuitions. So if the thoughts are the language of your mind, and thoughts lie to you a lot, I always say thoughts are married to shadow, because there's many thoughts that we would think, but we would never say. I could be in a grocery store and analyzing what's in somebody's cart and going, oh my God, this is child abuse. Look what that mother has in that, right? But I have no idea of this person's history. So then what does the shadow need? I wouldn't walk up to that person and go, excuse me, man, do you realize you're turning your child into a diabetic and da da da? I would never do that. So it's still who I am. I don't pretend that I'm, so, evolved or so spiritual that I don't have thoughts like that. But what can displace the shadow? The light. So that's where I come in, and then I have a moment and say, oh my God, you just blew that person up. You have no idea what trauma or what situation they're in. And that's your sister there. And then, so again, you've got to, I say, train your ego and train the shadow to just recognize that, we live in a world of duality. There will be both, but you want your intuition to be much stronger than the mindset of ego or the Newtonian mindset of linear thinking. So emotions are the language of your body, and they do not lie to you. So if, for those of you who are going through any kind of medical challenge with your body, wouldn't it be a good idea to start listening to what your body has to say? Okay, so again, these emotions, we call them gut feelings. Maybe if I have a funny feeling about this, instinct, I got a hunch about this, or I have an inkling. So whenever you have any of those emotions start filtering down, you know that it's your higher self speaking to you to say, pay attention, because it's coming from a higher level of communication and not your ego, which, they say, Wayne Dyer coined this edging God out. Now, again, we need our ego, because if I didn't have an ego, I wouldn't be able to have the confidence to do this masterclass. If I didn't have an ego, I would not feel worthy enough to ask for a raise. But we want to be in cooperation in regards of not having the ego in the driver's seat, and to recognize that when we're on a soul's journey, we have to say, what are the qualities of that soul, and how can we nourish that aspect of who we are? So again, your emotions literally create your chemistry, which create the condition that you're experiencing right at this moment. So fear and worry, it tells the body, I'm in danger. And it responds accordingly by producing adrenaline, the stress hormone, the storage hormone. And so again, we could be, worrying about something that we can do nothing about. I always tell my patient, worry is a weed that can take over your garden. And so again, and those milkweeds, you can pull the leaves out really well, but it's hard to get the roots out. So the mindset is this, is if I ask my patients, I say, would you be willing to entertain the idea to take worry, that word, out of your vocabulary? And they look at me and I said, now remember, nature hates a void. I said, what do you think we could replace that word with? And they kind of just look at me, and it's hard for them to actually think, what could they replace the word worry with? Okay. And I said, how about we replace it with the word concerned? Now, worry is dense, it's heavy. It's like, I have so much joy to wake up to all the worries I have in life. No, but if I have the mindset of concern, I wake up with an eagerness. What is needed of me, because there's a concern? Now, if you're worrying about yourself or you're worrying about others, then you want to ask yourself, have you lost faith in yourself? Have you lost faith in that person? Which means, if I've lost faith in myself, then I must be losing faith in God, because God is the best version of who we are, right? So you say, well, no, I haven't lost faith in myself. And no, I haven't lost faith in my daughter. But why am I worrying then? So concerned is I can do and think and move for myself. So it's action oriented. But if I'm concerned about someone like my child or my husband, I need an invitation to help them. So if I, I want to, and I'm capable, then I would say, honey, do you need my help with X, Y, and Z? I don't say, I'm really worried about you and I don't think you can achieve this, but I can help you do it. I say, honey, do you need my help with X, Y, and Z? And if my daughter says, Mom, no, don't worry, I got it, there's no invitation for me. So I look at her in the face and I say to her, right in her eyes, honey, I trust you got it, but if you need my help, I'm over there. So what does that do? That puts a positive placebo in her in regard that I trust that whatever decision she makes is going to be to her highest interest. But at the same time, she doesn't feel prideful or like, well, I'm not going to go ask my mom for help because, I told her I knew better. That I gave her the opportunity that if she should need my help, I'm available and ready. So remember, you ask if somebody needs your help. If they don't, you can let go of worry and now put your mind on the blessings of what you'd like to see the desired outcome. Because if my daughter doesn't take my help and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I'm so worried about this, then I'm energizing and creating a polarity to draw the very thing I don't want to happen to her. And meanwhile, I stay in angst. So that is, contraindicative in regards of emotional stability. So when we are in this modality of the future, right, and fear, our heart beats faster, our muscles contract, our breathing becomes more rapid, and there's this buildup of energy, but no outlet. So again, it's fed back to the mind in what we would consider anxiety. So always say to yourself, if I'm feeling anxious, I'm in the future of what ifs. So let me just get back to this moment right now. Take a few deep breaths, look around the room. I'm right here, right now, and I'm better than just okay. Okay, so it's really important to just say the sympathetic nervous system is my inner child, my 4-year-old daughter that I unconditionally love. And if she's in discomfort, then as a good parent, it's my responsibility to be curious enough to ask, what is it that she needs? So anxiety is free floating from being in the future too much, okay? And so again, fear and worry is just all about the future. Depression, sadness, remorse, it's the past. Now, again, you have many friends and you've experienced this yourself, is that people will be talking about their divorce that they had 20 years ago if it was yesterday, or about what happened to them in childhood as if it was, a year ago. And so this continues to run the same program. So if I'm running the same program, how can I experience anything different but depression, but sadness? So again, it's like we say, if we don't like the mirror, what we see in the mirror, because everything we're experiencing, we co-create, then we say, okay, I'm experiencing sadness because I'm reliving, the past, and the past wasn't joyful or happy. But since I don't want that, what is the opposite of what I do want to feel? I can say, okay, well, guess what? I can't cry and laugh at the same time. And they literally have laughing yoga where you just burst out in laughter, and laughter is contagious. So you can say, okay, what would make me feel better at this moment? I can pet my dog. I could go outside and see the wonderment of the sky. So anything that kind of distracts me from that depressive nature into an aliveness. Okay, so again, we want to create a solution by examining your auto responses. Those are triggers. Okay, oh, I'm feeling this. Oh, I should be sad because that's what I usually feel when I think about my mom or I think about that relationship. That's the normal what I used to do. But actually, it's absolutely holding you hostage, and it's going to be your future. So 95%, you have 60 to 70 thoughts a day, and they're repetitious thoughts. So 95% of the mind's response are preset programs from your childhood. And also what we would consider generational patterning. Even in the Bible, it says, we're going to pay for the sins of our forefathers, right? And so trauma replicates itself. And you may even say, wow, this is interesting. Maybe it's not exactly the same story, but it's the same kind of feeling. Let's just say you have an alcoholic parent and you don't drink at all, but somehow you marry somebody who's addictive, and whether it's to porn or whether it's to food or whether it's to cigarettes or whether it's to something, but it's the same feeling, and it's because trauma replicates itself. And so what we want to do is we want to say to ourselves, I'm not my mother's story. I'm not my father's story, nor do I want to work out anything they didn't get to in this lifetime. And I'm a sovereign being. And what do I want to feel? So instead of thinking this, let me think this. And, they say fake it till you make it. And in some degree, that is true. The more I change the story in my head, the more those neurons begin to fire and begin to wire together. And now I can create a new habit. So it's very important. So remember, I have to think before I can feel, and, and then respond, so again, it's like, I go, see what's happening. I think about it. I have an opportunity to say, do I want to react, which is a trigger, or do I want to respond? So again, if it's 95% programming, we want to take a good look. Is this a response that's actually beneficial to me, or is actually very depleting? Now, have you ever seen an animal worried? A tree worried? Okay, if you see an animal that's being chased by a predator, it's high adrenaline, it's trying to escape, and then it finally makes the escape. What does it do when it finally stops? It goes, and then it goes on by itself. It shakes. So why? Because all this cortisol is running through the bloodstream and it wants to release it. But what do? We just hold it in. We don't process our emotion. We repress it. So where is it going to go? It's going to go in our tissues, that, as I said, that later become our issues. So again, we all want to have that mindset, is that if I'm feeling something that I don't want to, let me look at it, look at its validity, and what would I rather think? Well, I'm sure the opposite of what I'm thinking at the moment. So use compassionate curiosity rather than judgment. Oh my God, I feel so stupid. That was stupid. Why did I react that way? Rather than, okay, it's a preset program. Everything how I react to these triggers, it's not my fault. I had no control over my childhood, but I have 100% control now. Why am I still letting it run my circuitry? So I have a sense of observation, which has a sense of curiosity, which has a level of compassion. If I go to evaluate myself, I immediately put myself is in the seat of the judge, and the judge wants punishment, and that means shame or guilt. And then again, you start the cycle all over again in depleting your immune system. So emotional states. So 5% of our mind is creative conscious thoughts. Neuroscientists believe that in humans and mammals, the cerebral cortex is the seat of consciousness. We all co-create the life we live. So if the programs which run your circuitry are causing you discomfort, learn how to change the program through reframing and look for the healing opportunity. I always say, if we're triggering, if we're in a situation, we're triggered and we get angry or we get, judgmental, we say that had to already been in me, the ammunition. So what this is actually bringing up is an opportunity, rather than for me to shoot the messenger, is to take a moment and say, what is this revealing that needs healing inside of me? So whenever I get into a situation like that, I say, oh, this is a wonderful opportunity, a chance for me to heal. This discomfort is allowing me to see something in me that needs my attention. So again, steps and strategies to help you reframe unhelpful thoughts. Know what to look for. It's often the case that we are not even aware we're thinking in an unhelpful way. I'm getting so good at this. I feel so proud of myself. Is that I could immediately, when a thought comes in that has no value, I pluck it out like a weed immediately. I say, you have no place in my home. And then I say, what does have a place in my home? And so I have all these little affirmations that I have actually recorded as part of a default modality. So when I go into this mindset, I can easily say, oh, put that in there instead. Oh, put that in there instead. Now it's very easy for me because I've done it so often that these neurons are all firing and wired together now, that I get a different response that I might have 5 years ago. Oh my gosh, my nervous system is so different than it was 5 years ago. I'm Latino. I can be, very triggered by things and da 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 and control. And now I'm like, oh, well, what do you want to do about that? And might have been before, I might have exploded. So I can actually measure, my nervous system and how it responds based upon my adrenal glands. So knowing what to look for is important. Practice catching it. Don't let it go by. It's like, oh, bully in the playground. Check your unhelpful thoughts and then just look at them and say, okay, well, instead of that, what should I think, and go from a negative to a positive, and that's called reframing. So again, your words have potentiality to create. So when people are using their words, I say, are you sure you want to use that word? Are you sure you're angry? Because angry means that you need to protect yourself from something that you think somebody's doing intentionally to you. And they go, oh, no, no, that's not what I feel. And I said, okay, is there another word? And I try to help them because I don't try to put words in their mouth. And they go, well, no, really what I feel is disappointed. Okay, well, disappointment is going to bounce off you, but anger is going to go straight to the liver. Okay. And so I said, okay, well, every emotion has an organ association to it. So when my patients have cancer or autoimmune disorders and in specific organ systems, I look from German medicine and I say, what was the emotional component? And they always match. And it's so interesting. Hashimoto's, the inability to speak our truth. That's when I got that. I was in a situation. Okay, people. So again, we just kind of look at, oh, this is interesting because they match. So again, then I started to say, let's pull these weeds out. So again, it just takes practice and being mindful and saying, I want a different way of responding to life. So I'm not constantly in this flux of reaction. So emotions and the ego. Thoughts can trigger emotional responses so fast before the mind has time to voice them. The body is already responding, which can turn into that reaction. So, for example, this is something that's really important and a really good takeaway. If somebody is angry, they walk in and they're upset and dinner's not ready. Okay, and you just walked in 10 minutes ago and their blood sugar's dropping and they're saying, gosh, I can't even count on dinner being on time. And immediately you go into, well, I just got home and what do you think? Blah, 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 right? Or I would just do nothing and I would look at that person. I say, they're activated and they've lost their emotional intelligence. So everything that's coming out of their mouth, I'm not going to take seriously because they've lost their intelligence. So if I did not respond and be reacting that you're directing this to be, and I've got to protect myself back, and I look at them straight in the eye and I put my hand on my heart, which automatically allows me to come from a different space. And I say, do you need my help with anything right now? No, at work, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm hearing a different story. It wasn't about that the dinner wasn't ready because there was many times the dinner's not ready. It was the fact that he had a bad day at work. He didn't get to eat lunch, therefore his blood sugar's off. So again, I want more information so that I don't trigger into thinking that, I already know that is by way of an emotion that that I'm used to having when I think I need to protect myself from someone who might be shouting at me. So I always have, let's have some compassionate curiosity. Nick Thich Han said, look at somebody like a child when they're arguing that's a child in need. Would you scream at a child that was in need? No, you'd be very compassionate and considerate, but you're looking at this adult complaining, well, I got a lot of things to complain about. So again, we would avoid many, many arguments and many derailing of our sympathetic nervous system if we just took a moment to actually have a compassionate inquiry, what is needed here. I always say your get out of jail card when situations like that happen is that after they say no, they don't need your help with anything, you offer a gesture. And this is the last gesture that you're going to offer. But this is get out of jail card in terms of your monopoly. So you can move. And that is, I'm going to get ready to make myself a cup of tea. Would you like one? No, I don't want tea. Great. You walk away and you make yourself a cup of tea and you don't come back. Why would you walk into a cobra's den that was getting ready to strike and say, why did that snake bite me? You allow a person to recompose themselves because nobody wants you to watch them be derailed. And 9 times out of 10, if you have a good relationship, they might come around while you're sipping your cup of tea and say, God, I'm really sorry I unloaded on you. I had such a hard day and I'm starving and da 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 da. And that's understandable. I observed that the behavior was not directed at me, but they had a hard day. Okay, so we come from a different place. Okay, so again, healthy anger is really, really important in regards of creating boundaries. If you're putting up with things because 99% we don't want to be rejected, as a child, you were led to believe very quickly that anger was an emotion that was absolutely not acceptable, not at any age, as a toddler, as a teenager, or as an adult. But anger is about, I'm uncomfortable, please stop. Okay, it's like a stop sign telling you whatever's happening at this very moment has got to stop right now. If they're shouting at me, I would like them to stop. If they're hitting me, I would like them to stop. If they're bullying me, I would like them to stop. So remember, anger is an immediate stop sign for you to say, whatever's happening, I need more information, but it's got to stop. So again, when people tell me my husband and I never argue, I think, ooh, this relationship is in trouble because they are being passive aggressive and they're pushing all of those emotions that we would call healthy anger down to be explosive. And so what we say is that healthy anger shows somebody where the boundary is. If a dog growls at you and you're persistent at touching it, and then it shows its teeth, and then you grab it and it bites you, it is not the dog's fault. And if we do not have boundaries with a consequence, then you become a doormat. Okay. If I know that I push you to the edge and you're not going to, talk to me for a week, then, I don't want to experience that. So I might take you to the edge, but I don't take you over the edge. Okay. So healthy boundaries are absolutely essential for a sense of mental well-being, because if I'm putting up with something I don't want to, then I'm repressing that emotion to the liver, and I'm going to be mad at myself for putting up with something. And how do we ask for change? We ask with a very compassionate heart. If somebody is screaming at us, we may just go quiet and say, I'm curious why you're speaking to me in that tone of voice. Can you give me an example? If they say something derogatory, can you give me an example? Questions are kind of take people off guard, but they have to be intellectually respond to you and not from that, unstable emotional point of view. And so again, when we have a consequence, we'd say, if this continues to happen, this is the consequence. I might start looking at you like a roommate rather than a lover because of this conflict we have. Is that what you want? And they say, well, no, I don't want that. And they say, well, is there a way that we could go about, this communication that we have that's not offensive to me, but it makes me block up and pull back? And that is not going to be good for a healthy, loving relationship. So again, if I'm asking as a request for change, I'm not demanding. I'm not saying you better, lower your voice, blah, 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 blah. I'm curious. Why are you speaking to me in that tone of voice? There's a much different outcome and an energetic frequency. So healthy boundaries are essential, but as a child, you learn very quickly that healthy boundaries are not safe because you're rejected if you have a boundary of being angry, that doesn't feel good. And so again, creating authenticity is to say, I gotta get really familiar with what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, I ask myself, what discomfort is this bringing up for me? Let me name it. Because if I cannot verbalize what I feel, I cannot verbalize my request. Okay. So repressed emotion, if not resolved, can live in your tissue. And as I'll say over and over again, becomes your diagnose every time. Negative emotion and physical disease. So fear, anxiety, jealousy, anger, bearing a grudge, sadness, hatred, or dislike, all of these disrupt the energy flow through the body. It affects the heart, the digestion, the production of hormones, the immune system, the DNA, and also your ability to release and to let go excess. And then we call that weight gain. Connectedness with being. Positive emotions strengthen the immune system and invigorate the body's energy fields. It cannot hurt you to be positive, but it can kill you to be negative. So when I'm working with patients that have immunity issues, life-threatening situations, of course, it's easy for them to go down the rabbit hole of darkness. So, okay, come on, let's come back to the light here, right now. How are you feeling? Let's address that. And everyone should be able to allow themselves to feel whatever it is they feel, but let's look at, it's just energy that needs to be released, like a child that's had too much fun and is tired and starts crying. It's not that it's crying because it's sad, it's got energy that it needs to release and to let go. So states of being emanating from love have no opposites. Love, joy, and peace are an inside job. They're all the aspects of your true soul's nature. So when I'm not in this mindset, I'm out of alignment with my soul's nature. So for me, I'm really into thinking to myself, okay, I am human. There'll be times where this will, make me upset, and it's usually not what's directed at me, but what's happening with people, because I have compassion and I want to be people's advocate. But then I say, what would make it be okay for me? Well, what would make it be okay would be justice. And then I say, okay, God, please send down your legions of angels and help, blah, 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 blah. And 9 times out of 10, it manifests in a positive way. And then what do I say? I say, thank you. Because, I cannot change the will, but what I can do is I could pray it into its effects. So remember, you have a choice. Let go of the story and return to the only place of power, which is the present moment. We want to affirm, in this present moment, I am more than fine. I'm great, or I'm better than okay. The beginning of freedom or breaking free from the pain body lies first in the realization that you have a pain body. Okay, your pain body begins at your pubic bone and ends at the top of your head. If I were to ask you when you were in a difficult emotional state, where do you feel this? Teresa, where do you feel this? She wouldn't say on the bottom of my foot, in my knee. I feel it, she would never ever say anything below her waist. She'd say, my stomach hurts, my head hurts, my chest feels heavy, my shoulders feel tight. It would never be any other than from your pubic bone to the top of your head, because this is where all of your organ systems lie. And so again, we recognize that the pain body is developed in childhood. The more trauma, the more drama, the more chaos, the more this pain body is developed. I have a patient that she needs to be fed something that makes her angry, or she's not who she is. And I find it just like, wow, you are arguing for your limitations because your pain body and your ego are so strong that it doesn't allow you to connect to your soul's quality. And so, again, I keep trying to bring them back into a state of homeostasis by recognizing that how they're responding is not their fault because they've been programmed. But now that they know that the programs exist, it is their responsibility to change it. And the pain body can be really strong. And I will guarantee you the pain body holds a frequency. So if you have one person that's got a high pain body, they will attract another person with a high pain body. And so we say misery loves company, and it's 100% true. So the beginning of freedom, but breaking free, again, just in the realization that I do have a pain body. We call them the emotional centers, or we call them the chakras, where energy moves in and out of them. When it is recognized, it can no longer pretend to be you and live and renew itself through you. Okay. So if I have this personality, right, that I have developed to protect myself from the world or to get along with the world, those are just the masks that we have created. So again, it's like if I took the mask off, who am I in regards of my authenticity? Nobody, if someone says, oh, I got to go find myself, oh, then they're looking at themselves as there's two people, you and the person you got to find. Well, that's impossible. But what you say, I want to uncover myself because it's been covered up with other people's perceptions of me, and it was kind of like a mud over a beautiful diamond. It's not shining anymore, and I don't see my brilliance, I don't see my genius, I don't see my value. And there's where the lack of self-esteem comes in. So I say every day you want to wash off your diamond in regards of any interactions that you had that were adverse in any way. And then what you want to do is you say, even though I don't think it was my fault, what might I had, how might had I contributed to that response? Compassionate curiosity. I don't want to just say you. I say, I don't feel that it was warranted, that behavior, but if I if I had anything to do with it, what might it have been? Oh, in the middle of this really important conversation, I picked up my cell phone because somebody texted me, and they got annoyed and stopped talking because they felt that what they had to say wasn't important to me. It could be the simplest things. And I mean, I can course correct and I can say, honey, I'm really sorry. I know the other day when you were talking to me about really something important, it was so rude of me. I picked up my phone, and I don't want you to think that it wasn't important. I'm really ready to hear what you have to say. Now that check mark goes away, and I don't have, this accordion that every time you get in an argument with someone, all of a sudden they pull out, 20 years worth of things that they're mad about, which is never fair. That's not fair fighting. Okay. Okay. The pain body is only fed by negative thoughts. The pain body is only fed by negative thoughts. The voice in your head will be blaming, accusing, complaining, imagining the worst consequence. It'll be telling you sad stories, anxious or angry stories about yourself or life. Then you know your pain body's being activated. Okay. And you say, okay, I know I got an ego. I know I've had a lot of drama, but do I want to relive it? Or do I want to treat it like a child that needs me to pick it up and say, oh, I'm so sorry that you've had to go through all those things, but I'm here to support you. I'm here to protect you. And then we have a different point of view. So again, if I stay in this pain body, this is when you get addicted to it, and you get addicted to being angry. Like I told my patient, I said, do you realize your anger is like a cocaine addiction, right? Short-term relief, but long-term negative effects. So you want to ask yourself, in doing what you're doing or consuming what you're consuming, what does it do for you? What does it relieve in you? Okay. So I always say, don't ask what's wrong with the drug, ask what it does for you, and go to the roots of that and say, this is where the healing takes place, because they're using this as a hurt or a cover up or to numb or what have you. So again, we don't want the addiction of unhappiness to set in. So knowing yourself is to be rooted in being instead of lost in your mind. So when are we in a being state? When we sleep, pretty much most of the time. But we need to be in a being state when we do breath work, in a being state when we do meditation, in a being state when we are in nature. We're the elements. We're not, and hopefully we're not thinking about all the problems we have, but we're more creative, and to be in the presence of, energy that's going to uplift us rather than keep us into a cave of darkness. So dissolving distorted emotions from the past. As your thinking ceases being clouded by negative emotion, your present perception is no longer distorted from the past. So I was telling someone the other day that, in a village setting, they said, and you guys might have heard me say that, when, we were much healthier in a village setting. If your child was crying, and your auntie or your grandma or your neighbor it would pick the child up. If the child was hungry, they would offer it food. Okay. When you live in a clan environment, you've got many people that the child communicates, which is super healthy, and there's a safety net, because where there are many, there is more wholeness, right? And so it was really, I loved this story, because he said, okay, so as a clan and as a village, when anybody had a problem or sick, it was an energy frequency of the whole village. How could we contribute to change the dynamic of what was going on with this person? So they would bring the person and they would sit them in the middle, like, let's just say, of a hallway, a room, wherever it is. Okay. Just like the town hall mindset, like in the old days, they all got together to figure it out. And the person would sit in the middle and they would share their request and their need for help. Okay, this is going on with me, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, the wise people, the elders, would share their opinion, and how to potentially give advice to resolve. And maybe other people contributed and how they could be of benefit and help them to see it differently or what have you, or give them herbs or what have you. Now, that person, the same person, was allowed to come into the circle 3 times with the same problem. If they came in on the 4th time, everybody in the circle stood up and turned their back to them. Now, some people say, oh, how awful! That's so rude. But it's not rude. It's actually the most healthiest thing you could possibly do, because what they're saying is that we have given you everything and all the tools you need to heal, but you're not picking them up, and we will no longer support this toxicity that you're holding on to. So I thought that is fantastic. Now imagine if you went through some sort of trauma, divorcing, and you were allowed to talk about it 3 times only, and that was it. Wow. That would be so cool, right? And nobody else was able to talk about it more than 3 times too. And we'd be able to leave the past in the past. So again, so just thinking about it, as your thinking ceases being clouded by negative emotion, your present perception is no longer distorted from the past. The energy that was trapped changes its vibrational frequency and it is transmuted into the present moment. And in this present moment, I'm better than just okay. Right? Like when I ask patients, how are you doing? They say, okay. I go, just okay? And I go, no, I'm doing a little better. And I said, okay. So every day in every way, you're getting better and better. They're like, yeah, right. So it's just sometimes we just don't know what to put in its place because we're not used to thinking from this point of view. So why does success elude us? Many people never get to the success that awaits them because they do not persist long enough. Whether it's with the diet, whether it's with exercise, whether it's with a good sleep routine, whether it is, mirroring back me so that I could see what is needed. And right. So again, it's if we go fall back into our old pattern, our 60 to 70 thoughts are the same thing that we do every single day, then how can we be somebody different? Okay. People say, what do you mean, Liliana? Want me to change my personality? And I say, well, your personality is just a mask. So how about we have a different mask that's all about happiness, joy. Now, that doesn't mean I live in a Pollyanna lifestyle. We have duality. We'll always have death and life. We'll always have evil and good. But how can I live in the middle? And if I live in the middle and I'm in alignment with my soul's journey, I can drink my blessings. And as I drink my blessings, guess what? I have more nourishment and I have a well to drink from when shit hits the fan. All right. And I say, okay, instead of breaking down and having a nervous breakdown, I feel what I feel, but then I quickly go right back into alignment because I've got a greater bandwidth because I have been drinking and I'm aware of my blessing. Then just letting them flow by, like, not really saying thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to live my life from a place of grace and always be saying thank you. If I have to go to the bathroom and the bathroom's open because it's always people in, I say, oh, thank you. When I get in my bathtub, I go, thank you. When I eat a meal, thank you. Everything is thank you for me because I want to be in gratitude of this gift called life. And I see it every day that when we're in a situation where it's presented that we're now facing our mortality, all of a sudden I don't need that kind of a wake up call to have reverence and to just say, oh, thank you. I'm so appreciative to wake up this morning and to give love and to receive love. And if I come from this mindset, how can you not increase your frequency? And their frequency what attracts others into your world, and that they all of a sudden have a higher frequency, and all of a sudden now you're swimming with people that are all more mind, you have more core values together and you nourish each other and you inspire each other and you walk away feeling good instead of walking away heavy with everybody's burdens. So to get more consistent and tangible results in life, everyone must understand the manifestation process. Manifestation is not I wish and when I get out there and the goal is out there. Manifestation process is you must know where you want to go or what you want. You must believe first you can attain that intent or vision or goal. You must consciously participate on a daily basis what it would feel like to already have it. Okay, so for example, when those kids were back ordered, I thought, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I said, okay, bottom line is we can read a good book and it's a to-do book, and then after we read it, then we can actually do the process. So I said, okay, well, bottom line, it's going to be beneficial for anyone whenever they want to do it, they can still get my discount and so forth. So it's not like they have to have it right now. But I said to myself, let me imagine that I'm waking up this morning, right? Because I didn't get my kit either, that I'm waking up this morning and I'm looking and I open the door and there is a box from not Amazon, but UPS or whatever, and it's right there. So I literally, I imagine walking to the door, I imagine opening the door and seeing that box right there. So I got up and I was getting ready to meditate and I used Insight Timer, and the first little text that said, your order is being shipped out today. Okay, well, that was just as good as me walking out and seeing it, but I saw it in my mind. I said, okay, I see it. So again, just imagine like in the process of manifestation is, if I want love, be love, feel love. If I want joy, be joy, feel joy, right? And so if I have that, then my body's like, oh, I get it. I get it. This is what she is it. So she attracts it rather than it's out there. And when I, and if I, then I can be. That's not manifestation. Manifestation is having the five senses activated on what would it be like. So I tell my patients, you know, if you're trying to control what the future looks like, you'll always be disappointed. But how about if you ask yourself, what do you want it to feel like? You want it to feel robust and energetic and healthy, and you want to be, going on vacations. That's that feeling. Get to the feeling of it, because that is going to be way more powerful than thinking about what I want, that allows for disappointment. So you want to trust the process of life will unfold without any variance from fear, doubt, or impatience. Get that out of your mind. You must see and feel it is already manifested. Words are powerful. Like I was talking to someone today and I said, a lot of times when you're talking to people, they only hear the last three words of what you say, right? So if your child is going out and you're worried about they're going to drink and you don't want them to drive drunk and they could get in an accident, and you say to them, make sure you do not drink and drive because you can get in an accident. All they hear is get in an accident. That's the mind. Okay. So you cannot, so I said, oh, I say, honey, when you get there, text me. Okay. I don't say, don't do this and don't do that, because boom, it just goes right in there like a weed, a thought. And guess what? Weeds grow a lot faster than your golf course lawn if it is left unattended. Okay, so only you have the power to make changes in your life. The way your life is at this very moment is a result of your very own current or past decisions or indecisions. Okay, we like to play it safe. Playing it safe, and let me tell you, I've heard it from so many people. Towards the end of their life, they're in regret because they played it safe and they really wanted to do this, but they didn't. They had to play it safe in this job and in this, right? And they didn't get the fulfillment. And remember, this is the school of learning, and a lot of them are hard knocks, but it's to remember who we are. So if there's anything in your life you are not happy with, do not sit back and wait for something to happen, because that something you are waiting for is you. Okay? You're the only one that has dominion. I can eat, think, and feel for myself. People don't make me feel. I choose to feel that based upon a response that I had in the past that I think it's the same thing. If I don't want to be depressed, I'm so sad. Stop saying that you're depressed and sad. How about you say that is, my body's experiencing disappointment. My body's experiencing this, but it's not who I am. Okay, so your body and mind are like a garden. What we sow is what we reap. Life gives us exactly what we expect, no more, no less. When we nourish our seeds with specific training, persistence, discipline, and determination, we will experience results in direct proportion to our efforts and to the degree that serves our highest purpose. When we are mindful of pulling the weeds out of our gardens, we enjoy the fruits of our efforts. So let's just talk just a little bit about detoxification in regards of, mental and emotional. So from doing to being. Breath work is my favorite. Any kind, Tai Chi is like a moving meditation. Yoga is like also a moving meditation where we're present, we're focused on our breath, we're twisting our body around, we're twisting our organs for detoxification. Meditations allows us to ground, to go inward, and to just kind of, you're never going to stop your mind from thinking. It's going to think, right? Oh, what am I eating? But then I just say, let me bring myself back to my breath. when I'm, and again, I like to do a lot of commentary meditations or breath work. Okay, let's breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, or they're speaking to me because I have a monkey mind just like everybody does. But again, I don't get all stressed out. Oh my God, I'm not doing it right. I can't get a blank mind. It's impossible. But what I just do is my breath. So again, and then again, if I wake up and I say to myself, I'm grateful for waking up today. I'm honored that I get to be of service in this world, and I'm honored to be able to give you love, and I'm honored to accept your love. So joy and love are the highest frequencies that actually changes your DNA. So again, when you explore methods on how to do a mental detox, there's no one size fit all method when it comes to doing a mental quest to de-stress. My favorite is breath work. The other day we did a breath work class, on our inner Zoom, and I actually took everybody through a process, and maybe we spent 10 minutes of doing breath work. Well, that night I got a 40 on my score of HRV, and I got a 90 on my readiness. And I thought, whoa, okay, I'm going to start doing really I do focus breathing every night, but I don't do it for 15 minutes. I do it just to calm the body down. I thought this was really super powerful. So again, the breathing, think about when you breathe in, that's kind of the alert phase. What do I need? What do I need to see? What do I need to do? And then the exhale is, everything's okay. So the mindset is when I breathe in, okay, I just allow that energy to come up. And that trains the cerebral cortex that even under stress, I can still make good decision because I release the carbon dioxide out and I let it go. Okay. So again, breath work, I like to do breathe in for a count of 5. I tell my patients, okay, now hold your breath for a count of 4 to 7 and breathe out with a verbal expression of your mouth, and breathe out like you're pushing each rib cage down with your diaphragmatic breathing until your lower part of your belly begins to tighten up. And then again, if I have a patient that's really anxious and I can see them fidgeting, then I say, let us toggle the vagal nerve, which is a nerve that goes from your head to your gut. That's why they say the brain and gut connection. It had branches out to all your endocrine organs, right? And so it's the calming agent mindset, okay? And it tells us, are we in danger? Are we not? So when you toggle the vagal nerve by singing, chanting, oming, or humming, it really helps. So there's a process called V as in Victor, O, and it's a semantic verbal expression that Peter Levine uses on people that have experienced traumatic situations. And we just breathe in a relaxed manner. Okay, it's not Wim Hof style, and then you just go boo, and you just let it lengthen out, and woo, it toggles, and it's from the back of the throat. And so again, that's one way to calm yourself very, very quickly. Or the nostril breathing in and out your nose. And a lot of times you're like, oh, I can breathe better in one nostril than the other. But then all of a sudden now you've got a clear sinus. So the diaphragmatic breathing is always from your stomach. It's not up here. Babies, when they breathe, their stomach goes up and down. We are like all up here. So, which means that we're really never emptying out our lungs because oxygen is in the lower chamber of the lungs, not in the upper chamber. So when we take a deep breath in, it kind of pulls this up. The diaphragm goes like this, makes more room. Okay. And then you can exhale and scoop up the oxygen that's in the lower part, where that's where most of it is. It's not up here. So great way also to de-stress, because honestly, cortisol sweat, it's contagious. All right. If you're around a person that's nervous and anxious and all stressed out, pretty soon you're nervous and anxious, all stressed out too. So sweating is a great way to release cortisol and to move the frequency out of you. Infrared energy, it can exceed up to 2 to 3 times the sweat volume of a hot air sauna. And again, it operates at a significant cooler temperature than that. So it's kind of heating from the inside out. It releases accumulations of toxins like pesticide, PCBs, drug residues, acidic waste, and also, just heavy metals. It's a great way to get heavy metals out of the body. So again, in 2002, a scientific study of individuals experienced significant chemical detoxification with which improved their heart function. I bought my infrared sauna because I wanted to get rid of the mercury. When I had checked my daughter's blood underneath the microscope, I saw a mercury ring. And so, of course, you're going to do everything for your kids. You may not do it for yourself, but you're sure going to do it for your kids. And of course, it gives me pimples. I don't want to do it. So I do this, right? So again, it has been a good addition to my home. I've had it for, I don't know, 10 years or longer than that. It's lasted a really long time. So again, it improves my skin tone and elasticity, increases oxygenation of the tissues and cells, and increases circulation, improved immune function, cardiovascular, pulmonary function. So again, if you are blessed enough to have one, terrific. If not, there's places that you can go to. At our clinic, we have them, and you pay X amount per month and can do as many as you want. So they're awesome. But again, we talked about on the last session that we had to do a Epsom salt, or bicarbonate soda, magnetic clay. But for me, I do Epsom salt baths almost every night because it's a way to detox emotional stagnation that I could be picking up just from everything I hear all day long. So I want to also protect myself because I'm very open. I'm very empathic. I want to help. I want to, right? Sometimes I got to watch my shoulders because I'm leaning into them, wanting to connect with them. So I say, okay, this is my emotional detox. I'm just going to, and even if I just stay in there for 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. But my goal is usually about 15 to 20 minutes. And I just kind of just imagine the day is being also drained right down the drain when I release and to let go of this water. So again, our body's built in with the perfect feedback loop. So again, we want to take a moment to reflect on how our body acts as a perfect feedback loop. Okay, we can have health or we can have disease. We can have happiness or sadness, strength or weakness, joy or sorrow. So you want to ask yourself, where do I want to align myself with? And when I go into any of these, the other side, then I ask myself, how long do I want to stay here? Right? And what can I do to either co-regulate with someone to bring me back in coherence, or am I really getting good at self-soothing? I do my yoga, I do my breath work, I do my bath, and it soothes me. I go get a massage. Those things are all absolutely essential. So life and its many choices. Each choice involves giving up something we want for something else we want more. Okay, when my patients are going, oh, I can't eat that, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. And I'm like going, well, okay, do you want vitality? Do you want your health back? Yeah, they want that, but they want this too. So it's got to really say to yourself, like, when I said, oh, am I going to go back to having coffee? And I said, oh, well, honey, Liliana, you can look at it like a treat. And I said, oh, it's a treat to you, but it's a toxin to your bladder because you pee 25 times with a dumb cup of coffee. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm really want to practice what I preach, okay, and I'm willing to suffer consequences when I do have it, then it's a mindful choice. But I don't want to pretend what I'm doing is okay. So every choice has a consequences and teaches us something new about ourselves. There are two sides to everything: light and darkness, pleasure and pain, health and sickness, life and death. As humans, we choose to align ourselves with one side or the other. Or again, when we're out of alignment, we could quickly get back. And you want to ask yourself, am I currently aligned with my personal soul's journey? Do I wake up with a purpose? We need a purpose. And that purpose could just be happiness. That purpose could be actually, I would tell my patients, this is not selfish. This is the greatest act of kindness that you could do for your family, is actually, you know, really connect to your personal, authentic happiness. They're like, what? I said, you would do everybody a favor if you took care of your personal needs so they wouldn't have to worry about you. Well, look at mom. No matter what she's going through, she's got a smile on her face. Look at mom. No matter what's happening, she's spiritualizing everything. She's still able to smile. She's still happy. She's looking, right? It gives them less stress. So it's really very, very important to look at it from that point of view. And again, we always want to take time to meet our personal needs. So again, when I'm out of equilibrium and I feel my adrenals, are being taxed, I say, okay, Liliana, go get a massage. Go do something where you can, take a moment for, personal needs. Go to your yoga class, go on a vacation, go to the beach, go ground. So again, these are the choices that we can make, and having not enough time is not an excuse, because that means that you're not in alignment with your soul's journey. Is everything all work, 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 and no play, or no curiosity, or no rest and recover? Well, we'll end up in a consequence that most of us don't want to end up in. Okay, so what to expect after detox? Increased vitality, easier weight loss, fewer headaches, less digestive upset, improved mood, diminished sugar cravings, and better mental focus. So 5 tips to support your body's natural detoxification process. Okay, so again, we want to keep these pathways open. So we want to eat well. Most of you who are on tonight's masterclass are involved in my keto stacking class. So that's wonderful. So again, it's all about how to eat right, how to think right, how to move right, how to love right, right. So again, it's just a culture that we want to submerge ourselves in so that we are supported with our desired outcome. So again, we want to eat the right foods. The liver is highly involved in the detoxification process, so we don't want to burden it. We want to sweat. We want to make sure that we're releasing and storing the toxins that are stored in our fat cells. We want to breathe. We want to get the carbon dioxide out. Carbon dioxide is repurposed by the trees and the greens, and they turn it into oxygen. So they take our trash and they turn it into something that we can use, okay? We want to make sure that we're drinking lots of liquid. So for those of you who are feeling a little hungry, make sure you make the shake nice and tall, fill it up. Okay, make sure that you have, maybe 1 or 2 containers of things that are pleasant to drink, whether it's a tea, or maybe you throw, like I'm doing with that, half of an orange and a lemon and ginger in there as well, just the liquid ginger, and then some grapeseed extract, because there's so many people right now are having respiratory issues. So I don't want that. I want to go through this whole season without even having a cold, and if I do get a cold, then I know it'll probably last 5 days, and I'm not going to panic about it and let my immune system handle it the way it's meant to. So in addition to detoxifying the body, don't forget to limit your exposure as much as possible to things that whether it's the color of dye you're putting on your hair, or the products that you're using on your skin, or you're washing your clothes with, just kind of just say slowly, I'm starting to inch out those things that are not to my highest interest, and starting bringing more things. So, oh, that's so much more expensive. Well, how valuable is your health? So for me, it's very, very valuable. Okay, so where do you go from here? So I would like to extend, now for most of you, you guys are already in the course, but if you are not in our course, I'd like to extend a warm invitation to upgrade your health journey to the next level. And on February 7th, I'm going to be doing a live masterclass at 7 p.m. And again, that will be on Wednesday as well, on the 6 pillars of vibrant health. So it's about 6 pillars, and we stack them up in regards to how do we live our life. I was sending out an email to all participants who signed up. And if you're serious about your continued success and you have not already aren't a part of our tribe, please join us. And I would be honored to share my life's work with you. But as a bonus, next Wednesday, when you guys are all done with your 14 days, I would like to offer a bonus and then come on here, and I'd like to share in your celebration. I'd like to hear your story, and so again, be mindful this week. What is different? What did I enjoy about it? For me, my GI system was different. My bowel function was really terrific. I wasn't having, the gas that I was having before. I was more relaxed because, I wasn't, doing all these things that I came home to work a little bit more and to, cook a little bit more. And I did batch cooking, and it made it really easy for me. And so I say, oh, well, I got a lot of, benefits out of this. And this is for me. That's why I like to do some sort of detox every 3 months to just recalibrate myself, because we're living in a time where, we can't control what's in our food, our water, our air, and our soil. And so we have to just be mindful. And I don't want to live from fear, but I want to live from a higher consciousness of always saying, okay, I want to honor my body, and how can I do it? Okay. So for those of you who have not joined the keto stacking program, it's 6 pillars. So the one, we're talking about the foods. We're talking about foods that help to, taking allergens out, how to, and get the body to burn fat for fuel and to retain your muscle, the kind of exercises that allow us to stimulate our lymphatic system, the stress management, and we go in depth. We go into in depth in all of them. We've kind of just touched on it a little bit here. And then again, we go into depth on the cellular intelligence, because we want to create a set point. We create a set point for what we've achieved, right? And we want to create a set point for cellular intelligence. We don't ever want to feel, just because we're not, doing what we're doing, we're going to go back to the old way of being. And then the last module is how do we reintroduce some of the foods that we took out, with the mindset of always upgrading in regards of, I'm not ever going to go back to eating glyphosate, grains. I'm going to go back to eating gluten-free or this or that, or ancient grains and things of that nature that I know are going to support my health rather than detour and decrease my frequency. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and then I'd like you to just for a moment think, what about what she said related to me? What saboteurs have I experienced in my life that had limited me in some way, shape, or form? What belief systems do I have about myself that made me live small? Because face it, most of us here, we're looking at the, the last third of our life, right? And so we want to say to ourselves, how do we want to bring it on home? I mean, I, for one, want to get a triple PhD in consciousness, because I know in my belief system, may not be yours, that the only thing we take with us when we leave the physical body and our spirit takes flight is how much love we gave, how much love we received, and how much we remembered living through our conscious nature of a soul, right? And God has given us many mentors to look at. There was Jesus, okay? And he said, okay, this is what you can emulate. For people who believe in other Buddha, this is who you can emulate, what have you. But he gave us many people to emulate. And, we want to say, what can we take from all of that that resonates with us? So there's no excuse in regards of upgrading our frequency to really show up as the best person that we're meant to be, and wash off of our mud. And every day to say, what do I need to reconcile so that I don't hold on to it, so I wake up with it tomorrow? Because none of you would put a dirty shirt that had food on it back in your closet. And then when you were rushing and you put it on and you go, oh my gosh, what, right? You would not do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the share and go here. Okay. So what I'd like to do is just have you just kind of for a moment, just kind of say to yourself, how did I see myself in some of the things Liliana said tonight? What are some of the concerns that I have? Because if 90% of what I do is programming, and maybe my life hasn't turned out exactly the way I want it, how would I want it to be? What would I want to feel like? Okay. So if you don't mind, just share a little something, and I'm going to just look at what is on here now in regards to some of the people were asking some questions about grounding and detox. Okay, so it says coffee regarding coffee, may want to check out Purity Organic Coffee, tested for toxins, molds, and mycotoxins. So I would say that is a good coffee. I have used that, and again, I was talking to Dr. Beta today, and she said that, a lot of the cross contaminations, that people who are mostly drinking coffee are not drinking that Purity Organic Coffee. For me, it's still a stimulant to my bladder. So I'm going to go without it, and then I'm going to give myself an experiment, and I'm going to say, oh, there it goes. I peed 5 times in an hour. Okay, that was really disturbing, right? And so that would be the reason for me in regards of the effects that I get. But Purity Organic Coffee, thank you. Excellent to release fear and anxiety from our lives. Yes, absolutely. It's essential. Do you have any recommendation for infrared therapy to purchase at home that's not the giant walk-in? Yeah, so they have ones that are portable, and Therasun, I believe, but I can get you the number. They're kind of like this special kind of plastic, and your head sticks out, but they're pretty cool. They're collapsible and stuff, but those are good because when I get in my sauna, I put like a cold cloth towel over my head, because Dr. Cowden told me one time it's better to keep your brains not so hot, right? And So I take it like I take frozen veggies, that are, and I put them in a towel and I kind of put them over my head, and then I kind of move it on areas that I know I don't really want my body to detox my Botox. And it will. So I put it here, I put it there. So, I was told that that will help. Okay, does a home detox bath have the same effects as an infrared therapy? So again, the infrared sauna, it goes about 2 to 3 inches into the derma. Okay, but just remember your skin is your third kidney. So it's very, very helpful. And the magnetic clay, it helps to draw and pull things out. If you've ever, did clay and mud, it adheres to things and pulls. So I would say it's different, but it's an excellent, and I would definitely do it. So right now when I'm on detox, I'm doing the magnetic clay, Epsom salt, and bicarbonate of soda 3 times a week. My sauna the other days. But again, if I'm not doing that, and because I take a bath every single night just to let go of the day, it really helps my mind. Then I just put Epsom salt in it, as easy as that. And I do it for spiritual cleansing because I'm bombarded by a lot, so I just want to also honor myself. Um, do you suggest grounding mat? And if so, do you have a favorite one? Well, interesting. I just ordered a grounding mat, which I have not received, and I ordered it off of Ben Greenfield's, his site, and I'm like, well, maybe it's not coming because it's already been 3 weeks. So anyway, sometimes when you order things on Instagram, I don't know if it worked to take your credit card or what have you. But Ben Greenfield's got a lot of stuff in EMF. Our clinic, we have like the EMF dots. And there is what else? What's his name? He used to have it's called barefoot grounding. And I've had, I have a blanket on my bed that is an EMF blanket. And then I just bought, I thought I bought a strip that goes over as well. And that was like $99. It wasn't that expensive, but they've got like a thing where you've got to plug it in to a grounding to a wall socket. I have vacuumed up those wall sockets before, so be careful. Our EMF stickers for the phone really work. Yes, they do. When I wake up at night with anxiety, will now breath and self-soothe with compassion talk. Yes, I'm telling you, I've had some experiences that are kind of like blew my mind a little bit, okay? Because I've had issues with sleeping. It's kind of those of you who know me and have been on my platform, since Hashimoto's and, gut issues and menopausal, things like that. And so I have had to become an alchemist for sleep, right? And so what I found most effective is breath work. But at the same time, what I've been doing, because, I've anchored myself so much in rewiring my brain, it's been 2 to 3 times, and this is new to me. I will go into lucid dreaming of therapizing myself. It's like, oh my God. I'm like, am I awake? And I'm actually hearing how I'm talking to myself. And I'm actually going, well, guess what? If I am awake, gosh, this is really good. So I don't mind being awake because this is really good therapy. 3 times that it's happened over the last 2 months. And I thought, is this God talking to me? Right? So again, I put my hand in my heart and I'm saying, okay, I want to breathe in love. And then so and it's really weird. But at the moment I was remembering all this thing that I was talking about, being love, life is love, this is love, 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 love. And then of course I fall back to sleep. And then I look at my score in the morning and I think, was I awake or was I asleep? And I go, hey, 85. Oh yeah, that's great. So it was like, it's kind of blown my mind a little bit. I thought, is this God speaking, my higher self speaking? Because I'm giving myself some good information. So it will help. And I promise you that compassionate talk, it starts to become a voice in your head that ends up in your heart. And it's very, very helpful. Okay, let's see. So Hillary said earthing.com is a great place to get any kind of maths or things that have to do with EMF. Okay, so just again, what was anybody put in there for just a takeaway? What was something tonight that you thought to yourself, this is kind of challenging me a little bit, but at the same time, it's making me really think about my life. So nobody's really revealed anything yet. So just kind of just throw something out there in the chat. I won't say your name, but we'll just kind of just if anybody has anything to offer on that. Because I really want you guys to have an experience. I really want you to recognize that you're in full control with critical thinking mindset and with the heart to kind of say, I'm in charge. Okay. Nobody else in charge is but me. And if I don't like what's happening in my life, then I might ask myself, what do I need to change? Okay, I'm going to just click that out there. Okay, whoops, let me get that out. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so is there anybody who wants to share anything? And if not, we're doing good. We're kind of a little over time, but we're good. Okay, so what I want you to do is just have the mindset of practicing some of the things we talked about tonight. First thing I want you to do is practice, how do I feel? Can I name it? Does it have value? Or is it a bully in my playground? And what would I like to think instead? Just start with that. Okay. Compassionate curiosity. And that'll get you really far, because if I start looking at myself like a little child that I absolutely love and would do anything for, you'd make so many decisions that might be different that you're making now. Okay. All right, you guys, any questions? You guys are all good? Okay, so next Wednesday, I will do just a little bonus class. But again, I want you guys to write some things down. What was my experience? Maybe I didn't get my kit and I'm just getting my kit now, whatever. But it'll just be a little bonus class, maybe a half hour or something like that. But I would love to hear and honor you and celebrate whatever successes that you did get. Okay. All right. So good night, everybody. Love you guys all. And thank you for your trust in me. And I look forward to continuing on this beautiful detox lifestyle. Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks, Liliana.
You're welcome, sweetie.